Republican views on climate are shifting, and now 1 out of 3 Republicans think that climate change should be declared a national emergency. Are they right or wrong?
I'm not one of those 3 Republicans.
Yeah.
I disagree.
1 out of 3, but yeah.
So I believe facts matter here.
But you couldn't even get the 1 out of 3. You couldn't even understand his question right. But so that is Vivek Ramaswamy in part of a debate with Representative Ro Khanna, which focused on climate change, the economy, and foreign affairs. And so he believes facts matters. Let's hear Vivek out. What kinds of facts is he spewing at this debate? Take a listen.
Are global surface temperatures going up? Yes, they are. Is that likely owed to some man-made causes? Likely. However, this is not an existential risk for humanity, and to the contrary, 8 times as many people are going to die this year of cold temperatures rather than warm ones. In the 1970s, the warning of climate change was an ice age. Look at the cover of Newsweek. Today, they warned the other direction. You want to think about the climate disaster-related death rate, the number of people who dies from tornadoes, heat waves, and so on, down by 98% over the last century. Why? Owing to fossil fuels. The Earth is more covered by green surface area coverage today than it was a half century or a century ago. Why? Because carbon dioxide is plant food.
What? Carbon dioxide is plant food? Come on now, bro. So there he was, and sadly, Ro Khanna didn't have a strong retort because I think Vivek participates in that debate strategy where you just tell so many lies and you just keep on going. It's difficult to sort of like catch each one of them. We attempted to, at least thanks to Mike here at the Damage Report, specifically. And this is our favorite. I mean, my favorite when it comes to climate denialism. They're like, yeah, it happens. Yeah, it's man-made, but more people die of cold. You don't understand how climate change works if you're still spouting that lie, because we're talking about extreme temperatures. These could be cold or hot. Global warming contributes to those kinds of extremes. So it doesn't matter, obviously, whether it's too hot or too cold, but also more than 8 million people worldwide die each year from breathing, polluted air that contains particles from fossil fuel emissions, things that he considers, saviors. The staggering number accounts for nearly 1 in 5 of all deaths in 2018, which is wild. The ice age versus global warming. Again, this is the idea that he was talking about, like, oh no, people are dying of cold. Yeah, the supposed global cooling consensus among climate scientists in 1970s, frequently offered by global warming skeptics as proof that climatologists can't make up their minds, is a myth, according to a survey of the scientific literature of the era. Thomas Peterson of the National Climate Data Center surveyed dozens of peer-reviewed scientific articles from the 1965 and 1979, found that only 7 supported global cooling, while 44 predicted warming. But that's not even what I think Vivek is doing. He's just saying it's actually also getting colder, which again fits perfectly with climate chaos. And then finally, the idea that, well, there's 2 more things, but the idea that fossil fuels is preventing natural disaster deaths. I mean, Ray, do you want to take this? I could quote stats, but
Yeah, it was just absurd. But I'll say right before that, he said that there are less people dying of climate events like hurricanes, tornadoes over the last 100 years, which is maybe one of the they're all horrendously stupid arguments that he made. But the reason for that is not that there has been less tornadoes, less hurricanes. In fact, if you look, the numbers going in the opposite direction in that case, it's because we have better detection systems than we did 100 years ago, better warning systems, easier ways to communicate to the people of the communities that are going to be affected by these weather events, that they need to leave. We have better infrastructure so that they can leave. We have better regulations over how housing is constructed so that they're more resilient to these types of weather events, which is not a permanent solution. I want to be clear. That's not in any way, shape, or form a permanent solution. Obviously, it doesn't actually offset climate change. It just makes it slightly more bearable to live in the places that are being primarily impacted by it for the time being. But like to say that we have less deaths because of these than 100 years ago, yeah, I would hope so. I would hope so.
And it's also in relation, like it's the same thing with the like, oh, this is the hottest summer, this is the hottest October, since we've been clocking how hot summers and like months are. And they're like, yeah, but before 150 years ago, it was actually really cool. And you're like, what are you talking about, dude? But yeah, in terms of the disaster-related deaths, the World Meteorological Organization says a disaster related to weather, climate, or water hazard occurred every day on average over the past 50 years, killing 115 people and causing $202 million in losses daily. The number of disasters has increased by a factor of 5 over the past 50 years, driven by climate change, more extreme weather, and improved reporting, as you just mentioned, Ray. But thanks to improved early warnings and disaster management, the number of deaths decreased threefold. Again, people they can leave, they might not be able to come back to their homes.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.